Hello boys and girls, it is time for another Reporting Depp v. Heard missive from day 23 out of 25 on this epic trial. I don't know why I'm spinning around in a circle, it's because I want to find the courthouse behind me, which it now is. We have got a debrief from Katie Pfleghar, who is a German journalist who has been covering this trial for Bild Magazine, and we go through all the witnesses today one by one. It was a very strong day for witnesses. We had Kate Moss, the British supermodel, starting off, and Johnny Depp himself took the stand for another, well, it was at least 2 hours worth of examination and cross-examination. But as I say, I talk it all through with Katie, who is my park bench debrief interviewee for this episode of Reporting Depp v. Heard. I will be back after the interview for a little bit more waffle and to say goodbye. But for now, enjoy Park Bench interview with Katie Pfleghar from Bild Magazine. So here we are, Park Bench interview after day 23 of 25 in this 6-week trial. It's Katie Pfleghar from Bild Magazine. Hi, Katie.
Hi.
So
Hi,
we can often talk about things around the case, but we were both watching what was going on in court today. It was a really good day in court. We had Kate Moss to start with, we had Johnny Depp, we had Dr. Shannon Curry come back, we had a man from TMZ magazine who talked about how information and video footage was leaked to the website, and we also had a forensics expert who can talk about the photos that were actually made public at various stages over this litigation and back in the day when the DVRO was taken out. So, should we do this chronologically? Because otherwise my brain is going to fry.
Please.
Kate Moss.
Yes.
The world's shortest piece of testimony ever.
Yes, it was so short. Like, I mean, I knew that's not going to be that long because they asked her specifically about that incident. So, but I thought it will be a little longer. But it was like very important. I thought she's a super important witness for him. Also because she is Kate Moss, and I think the jury in general tends to believe more people we already know. Like
possibly, yeah. Also, I mean, the fact that she was a partner of his and she was speaking up on his behalf.
She was the first ex-girlfriend or ex-partner of Johnny Depp who said anything. We can't
to give live evidence because Winona Ryder and
yes, but we can't use that. The jury won't use that as evidence.
Vanessa. No, not in this one. But yeah.
So she was the first one that's really in evidence, and it's good. It was for him, I think, great that someone not only said it's not true, but also said, oh, he was so nice. He helped me. He was caring.
Yes,
and
we ought to explain the story. The story was that Johnny Depp had pushed Kate Moss down the stairs. She said, no, that's not true. We were on holiday. I slipped. And he carried me up the stairs, took me back to my room, and got me medical assistance.
Yes.
And it was like, oh, okay, thanks very much, goodbye. Basically, that was it. That was the anecdote. So, yes, she poo-pooed this idea that apparently that Johnny Depp said came from Amber Heard.
Yes, like that was surprising. I didn't know that. I thought I heard about it in the news before.
Yeah, well, I was trying to find where this rumor had come from last night. I was thinking, well, it must come from somewhere. And then Johnny Depp said, no, it was Amber had got it into her head somehow.
And that's like was a strong point today because it was not in the news. Like nobody knew about this, and she just made it up. And
or did she?
I mean, why would Kate Moss lie about
No, I was saying, but we're not saying that Amber Heard made it up.
But who else made it
Johnny
up?
Depp said that Amber Heard made it up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
we don't know who made it up.
Yeah, but she mentioned it in her testimony. She said, oh, it reminded me instantly of Kate Moss and Johnny when he tried to push her down the stairs or pushed her down. And I never heard it. I thought I knew about that story, but I can't remember I really saw it like in the news. So I don't know. I have to check that again.
No. Well, I mean, I looked for it. I couldn't find a sort of proper source. It was quite circular.
See, so it was like a rumor that she fabricated apparently, and I think that was a strong point because for the jury to hear that is another evidence. Amber Heard is a liar.
It made a double point, didn't it? It had well, actually, it was very powerful, even though it was very short, because it was a former partner standing up for Johnny Depp, disabusing the notion that anything weird happened, and then Johnny Depp later saying this was something that Amber Heard made up or sort of turned into this horrible story in her mind.
And also the fact that she even gave a testimony, I think, is great, because she could have said, I don't want to, like it's a civil trial, like she doesn't have to be witness, but she said, no, I want to make clear this never happened. So I think that was great, and I think it was great she was at the first one.
Yeah, it also actually got all of the UK a bit of a flutter because Kate Moss is a big name in the UK.
Yeah.
I don't know how big a name she is.
She's
in
a
the
big
US.
name everywhere.
Oh, she is. Okay, fine. So then after that, we had Dr. Shannon Curry came back. Now, I am not a forensic psychologist. I do not know too much about forensic psychological methodology, but she threw a lot of shade on Dr. Dawn Hughes, who was Amber Heard's forensic psychologist, didn't she? Did you understand anything what she was saying?
Yeah, I understood the key points she was saying. I mean, she went into detail a lot and about the different ways to make diagnosis. Like that was like a little difficult, but what she said was also like very credible. Like she said that post-traumatic. What's a really important thing she said was that it's the most used. That people in civil suits apparently use that all the time.
They try and
to say,
claim it's the most commonly claimed mental disorder, isn't it?
It's a PTSD, and I know that a lot of people always like, oh, I have PTSD from that, but she explained it to the jury and us how that PTSD is something. Not that you're like traumatized with something or it's like a bad memory. It's like you're not able to walk outside. You're scared. Little things will trigger you. I mean, you look at people who came back from the war. They are diagnosed with PTSD.
Yeah.
Those are people who are not even able to work. They can't function with their own kids anymore. They're really scared. This is a really serious disease. And that was a good point when she said, yeah, a lot of people claim to have that, but this is not just a little thing. This is something that really affects your whole life. And we hear that people are not able to work anymore. And then she said, well, Amber, she did movies. She went to movie premieres. And those would be triggers, like to go on movie premieres, for example, because it would remind her of Johnny. But nothing. She lived her life. She moved on.
She was poised and fluent as ever, wasn't she?
Yeah,
and
she
engaging
happy.
presence in the
She
in the
didn't
witness
seem
box.
unhappy, or we don't have any like evidence that Amber Heard went into treatment, like or not able to work.
Yeah.
No, so that was, I think, a very strong point.
Yes,
She brought this up
yes,
again.
that was clearly understandable. It was some of the methodology I got confused by, but yes, she did make that point very clearly. Third witness was Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
And he spent a long time in the witness box, didn't he?
Yeah.
Pick out some of the highlights of the evidence from your perspective.
One of the, I mean, he said about so many things, like he explained it again. So we heard Amber's testimony and she accused him of a lot of things. So he talked about all of this, and I thought it was very interesting, especially with the point with the drugs, like when he said, but she said, oh, he took 8 or 10 MDMA pills at the same time. And I know a little bit about it. So when he said, I would be dead, and that's true, like no normal person can survive this unless you have a really high tolerance, but that means like he would do that every day, and we know he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
We know he didn't. So that was another point that also shows, oh, Amber Heard lied.
Yeah, or Johnny Depp is lying.
Yeah, or him. Like, I mean, he was very
One of them is
very entertaining, very confident. What I think was not good was he came off a little arrogant, a little rude, and I think this is never good for the jury because they see him and they don't want to see an entitled Hollywood star being rude.
Do you know what? I see. I can forgive him that.
I'm not judging him. I forgive him that too.
Yeah,
but
I can
I don't know how the
understand.
jury will see that.
I can understand why towards the end of a long trial, because if you also look at Amber Heard, she spent the first part of the trial very, very sort of still, wasn't she? She wasn't giving much away in her expression. She just looked a bit pained. Today she was a bit more animated. So in the same way that I think, because we're all getting really tired, he was a little bit more natural and a little bit more giving as good as he got, and she was a little bit more loose in her expressions and responses to it. And you can kind of understand that at the end of 6 weeks, people are just going like, oh, come on, when will it all be over? But I thought he was really good. He went through a lot of the evidence for talking about getting her the role in Aquaman.
Aquaman was a very strong point.
Said that he vouched for her essentially to Warner Brothers when they were thinking about casting her in the role.
Yes, what I didn't like that much, and I think that was not so good, what the text messages we saw in court. That, I mean, but that I have
he claims that there were some text messages that came from his phone that he simply didn't write.
Yeah, that was very interesting.
Yeah.
I was like, he's like, I didn't write that, and maybe you wrote it to the lawyer Rottenborn, and I was like, wow, this is a strong thing to say back to a lawyer in front of the jury.
He did. He suggested that Mr. Rottenborn may have just typed up those text messages last night, to which Mr. Rottenborn said, I did not do that.
Yeah, and he said it's there's no evidence, and there I have to, they get like these evidences from, I mean, that checked, and he said first maybe you wrote it, but then he said someone else could have had my phone,
yeah.
and wrote this. So this is like a believable answer. It's an option, but he said it afterwards. So he tried to get out first. Maybe you wrote it, and then so that was, I think, not so good for him, because you could see like he was struggling a little bit.
He was struggling a little bit.
How do I get out of this? But I have to defend him. These text messages, we all know that we are angry, and it's very fast written. You write something really fast, or you say something in someone's face very fast, out of the heat of the moment. It doesn't mean you really think that. It doesn't mean you would really do that. So he's a very emotional guy. He's an actor. He was angry. He was hurt because of the divorce and the restraining order. So he vented.
Yeah.
It's not a proof that he would actually do that. And we know a lot of people. I am often like that. I send out text messages I don't mean, and the next day I think, why did I send this? So I have to defend him in that way. That is not a proof for him being an abuser.
Okay, so this afternoon we had Morgan Tremaine from formerly of TMZ. He was an assignments editor. It was his job to send out paparazzi to take photos of celebrities around LA, and I had a small team in New York and then one photographer in DC. But obviously LA is where the celebrities are, and that's why he had 20 photographers. And he was talking about the tip-offs that he got that allowed his team to be able to take videography shots of Amber Heard coming out of LA County Courthouse, having got her DVRO, and various setups whereby she was going to get her deposition, is that right? And crucially, he spoke really interestingly about how TMZ were able to license the video of Johnny Sweetser drinking the mega pint of wine and smashing the cupboards and chucking the glass. What conclusions did you draw from Mr. Tremaine's evidence?
So first of all, what was interesting, he said I sent photographers over there because we wanted to get a shot of her with the black eye. So my first question is, how did they even know she had a black eye?
They had been. Well, he was of the understanding that his photographer would be. He was told that Amber Heard would stop, turn to make sure that everyone could see the bruise, and that's one of the bases on which he sent a videographer down there.
That was very interesting because how did she know? Like, there was a tip, like somebody knew she's gonna be there. Not only that, she has a black eye, a bruised eye, so that was interesting. The second one is with the video. We know Amber Heard took it. She filmed it. It was on her phone.
Yeah.
So we also know that her phone was not stolen. We would already know that. If she said, oh, there was a time my phone was stolen, I don't know, maybe people took off the video or so. No, never happened. So she must have given the video to someone. I'm pretty sure she didn't send it because
this is the thing. So he, although it was really interesting what he said normally it takes us some time to be able to license a video in order to verify it, first of all, and find out who owns it so that we can license it and use it. And he said that in the time it took for TMZ to get the video and get it out on the internet was about 15 minutes. And he said that only normally happens if we are dealing with the copyright holder. Now, like you, I cannot believe for one moment that Amber Heard would have done that. But it is entirely possible that one of her team did, or she authorized it and one of her team did it.
Yes.
So that
100%, because there's no other option.
And the same with the tip-offs about there's
no other option. So that was really bad for her.
Yeah, I don't like to come down on one side or another, but as a journalist, I know that if that TMZ makes sense as a journalist.
Yes.
You
absolutely.
You can't. Well, he presumably was testifying on oath and telling the truth, and he must have been dealing with someone who had the authority to license that video on behalf of Amber Heard. But again, I also can't believe for 1 second that Amber Heard would ever contact TMZ directly.
No, she's not that stupid.
Exactly.
That would be very bad. But of course, we know how these things are. Things getting leaked. They're getting leaked about a middle person. But she gave the video to someone.
Well, she could say she gave it to a lawyer because she saw it as evidence of something that she would want to bring up in her divorce proceedings. Whether her lawyer was acting with her authority or not when it ended up with, I'm not saying her lawyer did it, someone who had access to that video, but then TMZ wouldn't have licensed it, would they? If they were a little bit worried about who they were licensing it from, they must have licensed it with authority from Amber Heard.
Yes.
So it has come from her. Well, I think we can safely say, I don't even want to tread on, the jury's got to make their mind up, but I think there was compelling evidence to suggest that video had been leaked with the authority of someone within her team who had legal authority.
And that was like, I think, a huge point towards Johnny Depp. I think that will help him to show that she wanted to show he's like abusive, he's like destroying things, he's a drinker. So she wanted to create the image or the reputation of Johnny like that. And why would she do that? She wanted to hurt him.
Or she wanted to show the world what she's been having to put up with.
Yes, but usually, you know, you don't do that. You're married, even like you fight and everything, but to leak something, and she knew like how famous Johnny Depp is. She knew this will blow up. This will be the biggest news.
It could have been leaked without her permission, though.
I doubt that. That's just my opinion. That's just my opinion, because she took
but as
it.
I say,
she has the copyright.
well, she has the copyright. So this is the thing.
Sold it to someone. That's also bad.
Or she gives it to her lawyer and says, look.
But then what we learned in this trial is that the lawyer, we saw that with Anna Waldman, is actually connected, and it's actually like as Amber did it. So it's the same.
Final witness, the forensic expert. Now, I have heard a few people talk about how damning this forensic expert was.
Yeah.
I don't think he was, because all he could conclude was that he couldn't do a forensic analysis on any of the photos because they are sort of screenshots of photographs which have been saved and but basically, I think he was brought in to find out whether or not these photos have been retouched or re-edited in some way, and he couldn't say with any authority that they had.
Yeah, but he said they went through a photo program where he saw like there was a size change and a color change.
Yeah.
That's what he said, and I thought that was very interesting because we saw different pictures. Like I remember that cover picture on the People magazine was not the picture we saw in court.
No.
It was like so extreme blue. So maybe People magazine color corrected it to make it a more intense effect. That doesn't even have to be Amber. That maybe not her fault. But he said these pictures were edited, and I think
he didn't say the pictures were edited, though. That was the thing. He said they were compressed and they had been changed. But they had gone through an editing program.
Yeah, on an editing.
So this is we're recording this on an iPhone. When this video is finished, it will be automatically uploaded to an editing program. So if I then export it out of that editing program, it's been changed by the editing program.
But didn't he say? I thought he said that there were size changes and color changes.
Yeah, he did, but he couldn't say whether that had been done manually and who by.
Oh, okay.
That was my understanding. I may have got that wrong, because I was watching double speed on catch up towards the end of the day.
I thought he said it, and it was like.
I mean, if you look at the photos, there have been color changes because they showed them side by side on court.
Yeah.
Exactly the same photo.
So we saw
had
like
changed color.
For example, we saw 3 versions of the picture with the bruise on the arm.
Yeah.
And it was a totally different, and so.
Well, they were size changes, weren't they, in the actual kilobyte size of the photograph, weren't they?
Yes, the size and the color. Like we could see that in court, and we could also see that when Amber Heard testified. She saw a picture, and then Johnny said, "No, this is not the picture I saw. Like it looks so different."
Yeah.
So they were definitely color changes.
Those photos have definitely changed. I think the issue was how they were changed, whether someone has manually gone through them, touched them up, at what stage of the process they were changed, and who did it. And he couldn't answer any of those questions.
He could not, but I think it was still a strong point for the jury to see.
Do you think? Because they've already seen how the photos have changed already, haven't they? Actually, no, they haven't. Well, maybe it hasn't been laid out to them.
Like
We've seen these photos God knows how many times, and we know there are lots of different versions of them. I suppose for the first time today, the jury will have seen side by side 2 different versions of exactly the same photo, and so therefore they will have been in absolutely no doubt that they have been changed. Those photos have been changed for what reason we do not know. Who did them? We do not know. How they were changed, we don't know. But they have been changed. And I think that was the, I suppose, conclusive takeaway from that point. But I mean, at what stage? I mean, we didn't even put them in date order, did he, as to how they might have been changed, or
No, he just said like there were changes to the color and the size.
And the size, but the size not as in.
He saw that other pictures. He went through a lot of pictures. He explained, said they went through a photo program, and he said size and color were changed. I thought it was a strong witness.
Oh right, I thought
I
it was.
Your point.
I just thought
I
it just didn't get. These have been changed. They have been through editing programs. Has anyone manually edited them? I don't know. He said because from the examples that he was given, you can't draw it. I mean, there's a quote which I'm going to use in my newsletter later where he says basically you cannot prove anything about these photos because there isn't enough data in the photos to show anything.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you're right. So it was a really interesting day.
That was, yeah.
And I mean, who would you call it for?
Johnny. I think today was strong. I mean, it was his side, his rebuttal.
Yeah.
Of course. But I thought there was a lot of evidence came out, and he could talk about the allegations of her again, about her testimony, and for me it was very believable. He explained it in a way it made sense to me. I thought he did great. Yeah. I thought it was Johnny.
So are you coming to any conclusions about who might be telling the truth in this very messy, lengthy trial?
I mean, it switches. The weird thing is it switches. Like at the beginning, it was only his side. I was, oh my God, Johnny, like he's saying the truth. She's a liar. Then I heard her side. I was like, yeah, that also makes sense, and I believe it. I don't believe everything she said, but I believe a lot. Today, it was again, I was like, oh, now he explains it in a different way. And also, I think like for her, it's hard for me to believe her. For example, can I mention something from yesterday?
Of course you can.
So there was that from Hicksville.
Kind of you to ask.
We talked to about what was his name? Knight. What was his first? From the Hicksville Trailer Palace.
I want to say Morgan Knight, but it was Morgan Tremaine today, wasn't it? Oh God.
It was like
it was only 24 hours ago. The guy who owned Hicksville.
Yeah, he was like responsible, set it up for the couple, and he was talking to them, hanging out with them, and he was there. And what he said, because we remember, Amber said, Johnny was enraged. He took things in the trailer. He threw it into the glass. He destroyed everything. It was horrible. And he said, no, there was nothing broken.
It was $62 worth of broken light sconces.
And it was a light. And he also said they usually break. They're old. They break once or twice a year.
But also, the crucial thing about that evidence yesterday was that he said that Amber Heard was the aggressor. He saw Johnny Depp cowering as she yelled at him.
He was intimidated, like he was scared terribly. So I thought he was a very strong witness, because why would he lie? I believe him.
Now, these rebuttal witnesses have been really interesting.
Very
We
good.
don't tend to get them in English courts.
The fact that he said there was nothing broken except the lamp, I was like, it just like shows that what she said is not true.
Yeah.
It is not true.
Well.
And
well.
Well, we have like him. He's an independent person who has no reason to lie.
He would be.
And he would also.
He would be strong for the jury. Put it like that.
But he could also turn it away, and he could say, "No, yes, everything was destroyed." I think he's not on anybody's side, so I think what he says is the truth, because he could tell it in any way.
No. I agree.
Yeah, he doesn't get anything out of that. Why would? And if they really destroyed, like he said, his trailer, he loves those trailers. Yeah. They're like, especially that one they were staying at. I think if it was really destroyed, he would be angry at Johnny. He would think, this is like, he destroyed my trailer. And he would probably say, yes, he did that.
I loved it when Elaine Brederhoff said, you're a big Johnny Depp fan, aren't you? And he went, no. All I would conclude from the last 2 days is that the rebuttal witnesses for Amber Heard better be good.
Yeah.
Or I would be very, very worried if I were on her side.
Do we know like who's coming yet?
No, God, no. It changes. I mean, we thought Johnny Depp was going to turn up tomorrow in the witness box, but actually he was used today. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what does happen tomorrow. One question then, because you are one of the mainstays. Katie is here almost every single day.
Every day.
Every day throughout the show.
I didn't miss one day.
Writing magazine articles, doing TV things for Bild Magazine. Now, Bild is huge. I grew up in Germany, and Bild Magazine is absolutely massive. It is everyone buys Bild in Germany. It's a huge, huge brand. How is the work that you are doing going down in Germany? Do you know?
Yeah, the most people are pro Johnny Depp, same as here, just because he's such a huge star and people love him. People love Johnny Depp, they love his movies. They don't really know Amber Heard. She was not a big star, she's not yet. So most people, you didn't even hear about her before this whole thing came out.
Yeah.
So of course you rather believe someone you already know, and you have like a certain image of that person. Like Johnny Depp was always portrayed, or we always saw him helping the kids, or Jack Sparrow. He showed up at the children's hospital. This is how we know Johnny. We also know he had a relationship with Vanessa. We never heard any abuse allegations, nothing. We never heard any scandals.
Well, she's testified in the English trial that
yeah,
he'd never
we never
laid a
heard
finger on
anything negative in Germany about Johnny Depp. And then Amber Heard comes and people are, oh, no, that can't be true. So people are more on his side because she just doesn't have the lobby. She doesn't have a fan base like Johnny has.
Did the UK trial change any opinions?
That wasn't that big either because it was not live streamed, right?
Germans don't rate the
No,
UK
but it was
very
not
much.
live. It was not live.
No.
Exactly.
It wasn't on,
So
yeah.
it was not.
And it was happening during the pandemic, so it was big news for us in the UK, but no one else could get into the UK to cover it.
We reported about it, we covered it, but it's a huge,
different way of doing it, isn't it?
Huge difference that the people in Germany can watch it and then build their own opinion. Like they watch it, they see it, they don't only read about it next days. They can really actually watch it, and especially when Johnny went on the stand, I think a lot of people watched it.
Yeah,
they
that's when this trial really spilled over, because we used to be able to get into court because we could queue up early-ish, but now you have to queue up overnight to get into court, and it was the Johnny Depp effect, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was a Johnny Depp fact, so people only watched his side, then other witnesses came in, they were boring, people like, I'm not watching the trial anymore. So I think a lot of people didn't really see the whole trial, they missed a lot of things.
Yeah.
So this is another advantage, and I would say like, people are attending to Johnny Depp, they want him to win.
But your editors back at Bild Magazine, are they lapping this up? Are they working you hard? Are they making sure that you keep filing?
Yeah, I mean,
they want like copy.
It's like the last week. Everybody wants to know what's going to happen. People can't wait for the verdict.
Yeah.
People think that he's going to win.
Do they?
I am like...
Well, the one thing I've learned about covering... I've been a journalist for 22 years now, and the one thing that I've learned is to never try and second guess a judge or a jury, ever.
No.
I mean, you know, there's been a lot of evidence that's come out in his favour over the course, certainly over the course of the last 2 days, I would say, very, very strong stuff.
Yes.
But you know, we're not seeing what the jury is seeing.
No, I don't know. Like, I mean, I can't speak for the jury. I don't know them. I don't know their baggground. I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know their life experience. You know, it's a lot about...
And how much they're taking on board as well.
How they feel about certain things. We don't know that. It's just my feeling like people want Johnny to win. People think he will win because they think it's so clear she's a liar. But I talked to one of my best friends. He's a lawyer. He's a trial lawyer. He does that for 40 years. And what he told me was interesting. He said that the jury usually it's not good to bring in a divorce case or people who hate each other for a jury, because he said people get annoyed. People don't want to get in between. They know it's a relationship. There's always some truth on every side. So a jury have problems making a decision, and often, like what he told me, is that these trials go into both sides. All right, both sides are wrong, and we give everybody $1.
Well, this is the nightmare, isn't it? If there's no unanimity in the jury room, it's a mistrial.
Can happen, and also like
imagine that if it's a mistrial.
It would be crazy, but I think it's a big possibility because we heard both sides, and both sides, I think, say the truth at some point. Like there's both evidence on both sides, and I think it's not like a murder case or something where we know yes or no. It's and the thing is like he's suing her. He's about the OPAT, and I think it's hard to prove.
The Washington Post article.
Yes, the Washington Post article.
You say op-ed again?
Op-ed?
Op-ed? No, it's sweet. The Washington Post op-ed.
Yeah, op-ed. He claims that this op-ed like ruined his career, and so he has actually to prove that he never abused her, and he can prove that, not physically, but here in Virginia, the law, what I heard is that verbal abuse is counted as abuse too, and I think
they were trying to make that case, weren't they, over the course of Amber Heard's evidence?
They did that, and they could say.
But the jurors might just we don't know, because the checklist is going to be given on Friday, and so the jury will get their instructions on Friday, and we'll see whether or not the judge or the parties. I can't believe that the parties would agree that verbal abuse counts as.
Yes.
I don't know.
That's difficult because we heard a lot of audio, and she could claim, well, I felt verbally abused.
He could claim verbal abuse.
He could claim too,
well,
but then it's again.
Yeah.
So
oh man.
I don't know. We have to see what's happening tomorrow. I think it's important to hear her rebuttal to see who's bringing in, because right now I think he won today. He won that day, so I think he's like right here and she's here, but they can change again.
Well, and also last impressions count. There's a big thing that barristers in the UK like to go last before a decision is made, simply because they know that will be the last thing in a jury or the judge's mind before they go and make their decisions. And if it is the rebuttal for Team Heard tomorrow, which is the last day before closing statements, that's an advantage. But they've got to be good. I mean, this last 2 days there have been some very, very strong pro Johnny Depp witnesses.
Yes,
very
they
strong.
were like, I was amazed. I was very surprised. I was like, why didn't we hear about those?
Yeah, no, this is what I was thinking. Where were you? Where were you? I know some of them came through as part of the trial.
But also I think it was smart to not let people know right away, like what Johnny gonna bring. I thought it was way better to bring them in later, to have something in the pocket they can use, and also like to give that shocking effect, or that wow, where does this witness come from? This is something totally new.
I mean, I must admit, this trial has gone on a very, very, very long time, and it's exhausting, but it's fascinating in equal measure, isn't it? And some days when I'm thinking, oh God, really, really, you hear something like a day like today has been incredible because of the strength of those rebuttal witnesses, and you start getting really into it again. Yeah. How are you coping? How are you bearing up?
Oh, today I'm doing great because I sometimes have live shots at 1 a.m. and at 3 a.m. because of the time difference, 6 hours to Germany, so it's for the morning shows. I didn't have that last night. I was off, so I could really sleep early. I slept, so I feel great. And like you said, like the witnesses today, they gave me so much adrenaline. Like, I thought, wow.
Yeah, there were lines coming out left, right, and center.
So I'm like right now, like really hyper because I'm like, I have to think about it again when I'm back in the hotel. I thought like this was just so interesting.
Well, the biggest problem is processing it all because so much information. You have to download so much hard information because it's really good stuff that comes through. And then you sort of sit down at the end of the day and go, what were the names of the witnesses again? Because your brain is so frazzled.
Or I forgot sometimes certain things because it was just so much, and I tried to focus. And I wrote the article at the end of the day. I'm writing in already during the trial a little bit.
That's
then
the only way you can do it. It's the only way you can do it.
So I put like the most important things.
Yeah.
But then sometimes I'm like, there was something else, and I look at my notes, and I have so many notes. Because at the beginning, when I was inside the courthouse, I had to write everything, and it was like papers. So when I got back to the hotel, it was like so much, and I was like, oh my God, how am I going to bring that all in one article? And then it was hard after a long day to decide what's the story.
Well, especially as you're hearing it in a second language as well. I mean, you've got to process that. I mean, you are obviously fluent in English, but you know, it still must be quite tricky sometimes when you get an idiosyncrasy that isn't.
No, and also some certain things you can't really translate. It doesn't really come.
Oh yes, you've got to then put it back into German, haven't you?
That sharp in German, like, or certain quotes he said were amazing, and I wanted really to quote Johnny, and then I was like, this is hard to really translate.
And you have
this
to get
in
it
German
right. You have to get it right.
Yeah, to get really the way.
The mot juste, or whatever the German phrase is.
But I often it was easy, like. But yeah, it's a lot of information. I forgot already a lot of things that happened. Like
you're doing the Ginger Rogers Fred Astaire thing. You know, when you remember when Ginger Rogers was asked what it's like to dance with Fred Astaire, and you know, she said, well, I do exactly the same that he does, except backwards. You have to do what I do, but then translate it into a different language as well. It is quite incredible. Your work output is admirable.
Oh,
I have to say, Katie, and you still manage to keep smiling throughout.
Always.
Well, listen.
Always, because I'm happy. I'm a happy person, and I was like stressed out a few times because it was so much. But I love this. Like, I love this trial, and I feel sorry, of course, for Johnny and Amber because I know it's a horrible thing they have to go through. But I think I learned so much. I learned so much about. I mean, I was an actress before. I know the entertainment business, so I knew a lot of those things. But I heard certain things. I was like, wow, this is so interesting. Or I heard about these experts like Dr. Curry. Like that was. I never knew this before. I learned a lot of new things.
And the way the American justice system works as well, or the way it works in Fairfax County in Virginia.
Yes, and I also learned about relationships because I was when you look at it from outside, you usually only think about your own relationships, the problems, or your friends, but you are like a witness of a relationship, and you know every little detail. And I learned a lot about mistakes, what I will not do. I'll learn from their mistakes and what is not good.
I'm certainly never going to send a salty text message again.
No.
To anyone. Katie, thank you so much for joining me for a Debrief Park Bench interview. It's lovely to have a chat. I'm really glad that I finally got to interview you.
Me too, and I love working with you. I love seeing you here. Like, it gives me a motivation every day to see you because we're going through this together from day one.
We should go and have a debrief drink at the end of the road when this is all over. It would be lovely.
Yes, absolutely.
It's on me, promise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
My thanks to Katie. She is very chatty. She's a ball of fun, actually, in the courthouse. She gets quite exercised and energized by things, and sometimes when your spirits are flagging as a journalist and you're wondering why you're there and what you're doing, Katie comes along and energizes everyone again. So thank you very much for watching this episode of Reporting Depp v. Heard. If you want to find the podcast, which is doing enormous business at the moment, then just go to your podcast providing platform and look for Reporting Depp v. Heard. Or you could go to Audio Boom, which is where it's sourced, and put in the search term Reporting Depp v. Heard. Please do like and subscribe this video. There will be 2 more after this, and then I will do a video when we get the verdict through. And that, as I was saying to Katie, I mean, who knows when that might happen. The jury start deliberating on Tuesday the 31st of May, and they could go for hours, days or weeks. I'm going to be lurking around this courthouse for the first week, but I do need to go home eventually, and if they don't get to a decision within a week, it may suggest a deadlock, which could cause all sorts of problems and maybe even lead to a mistrial. Anyway, thank you so much for your patronage. I hope you are enjoying what we are doing, what I am doing, and I will be back in around 24 hours time with another Reporting Depp v. Heard. Bye bye.